Hello, darlings, and the warmest of wibbly wobbly welcomes to Sunday Night Live with me. And I'm going to be with you for a period of time that's not going to be excessive, I have to say, because quite frankly, I've got things to do. I've got preparations to make. Tomorrow is going to be a tremendously exciting and somewhat emotional day. But there should be a lot of fun as well, and I'm looking forward to it very much. Excuse me. So, yeah, I'm not going to be too late tonight. Your very good health, Dad. I've had a wonderful day today. I hope you have too. Cheers. Your good health. There we are. Now then, Black Lines, the wonderful Black Lines, has been a channel member for 7 months and has just very kindly renewed his channel membership. So a big thank you to him, and indeed to all of you other wonderful channel members whose names are in bold and green in the comments to show their support. It's very kind. I really do appreciate it. Lord Stiff Upper Lip is with us and says hello, Sir Boaty. Jimmy Quinn, good evening, Boaty and all. Steve Colg, Skick is here. Bad Books, as I've mentioned. Oh no, that was Black Lines. I always get those two mixed up. Bad Books is with us. Good evening, all. Black Line says, sorry to see Brian went to the big scrapyard in the sky. He did indeed, and I'm not sorry. He'd been a pain in the ass. I mean, you know, bless him and all that, but sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind, and Brian was like a fish. He had a life, he had pleasure, and he gave pleasure. And then he died, and he needed scooping out and flushing down the bog. So there we are. Brian is gone. Long live Brian. Except, you know, he's not gonna live long. He's within an hour of him leaving the yard, he was turned into a small cube of metal. Bless him. And oddly enough, having been crushed, he didn't work any worse. So there you go. It was the right thing for him. Good evening, all, says Peter P. Joe is here. Cars with JC. Evening, all. The wonderful M11. M11. Sorry. Hello to our little Welsh rarebit. Hope you're absolutely banging tonight. I haven't been banging anybody. No prospect of it either. But I've had a really good day, actually. Excuse me. I've had a really good day. I slept well. I was well rested. I got up, did some work, listened to the Formula One, and then I went outside and I continued to valet the arse off Windsor Davis, the rather wonderful 623 GSI, and I can't tell you how fabulous he's looking. The work I've put into that paintwork, and he just looks sensational. Absolutely sensational. I've got a bit of valeting inside that needs to be finished off, but that's not going to happen before tomorrow. Obviously, it's his big film day tomorrow. He'll get a bit more valeting on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to film a walk around review all of that sort of thing, which will also be a bit of a sales pitch. And then on Thursday or Friday, he can go on eBay. And some lucky so-and-so is going to get a really, really amazing car. Because that car is an absolute belter. And it looks better than I imagined it could. I just had to stand outside and keep looking at him. He looks so, absolutely amazing. So yeah, I did all that. I had a nice Sunday lunch, a bit of a jump up the ladder door because I couldn't afford a proper one, but very nice nonetheless. I had some garlic and mustard chicken. With roast potatoes and green beans and Yorkshire pudding and stuffing, and that was all jolly nice. And then, darlings, I went to work in Melanie Mingebag with the roof down. First time this year, roof down. Must have beat me to it by about a month, but it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. Although Mingebag is, God almighty, really, really playing up now. Desperately needs that new battery. I'm convinced it is the battery. I mean, there are so many problems, and I'm convinced that a nice new battery will sort them all. Fingers crossed. Daz Smith is with us. Good evening, Boaty and chat. Chaz Brown is here and says, evening, Boaty. Good evening, Chaz. I watched a video on YouTube about what would have been the Rover R55. Did you ever see it? Prototype looked great. Shame it never got built. No, I've never seen it. The wonderful Sophie is here, says, hi all. Hello, Boaty. How are you? I'm radiant, Sophie. Thank you for asking. Hello, turkey lovers, says Project Nigel, also known as Captain Mustard, of course. HW100 is with us, or HW Son, or HW Cento, if you prefer. Good evening, Boaty. And then everybody's just saying good evening to everybody else, which is lovely. That's what community is all about, isn't it? That sense of togetherness. I knew that I'd done something really good in, creating this little world when I realised that you lot can get on perfectly well without me. Just leave you to it. And I call that an absolute victory. So yeah, really, really, really looking forward to tomorrow. I will be departing from here. Oh, it's bloody rain tonight. I'm so annoyed. Having done all that work on valeting good old Windsor Davis there, and then it goes and rains, although at least you get to see the beading then, don't you? So I will be setting off in dear old Windsor Davis tomorrow morning at around the 10:30 mark, and I will be heading to a place called Warrington. Who was it? Who was that commentator? Was it Eddie Waring, who famously used to call it Warrington or something like that? But I will be heading to the Aspley Road car park in Warrington. And there's a very good reason for that, which will become obvious when you see the video. And there, in that car park, I will be meeting my co-collaborator for tomorrow and episode 2 of Wales, revisiting my homeland, isn't that? And we will then be decanting into one car, and we will then be going to the seaside, to the Welsh seaside, to the North Welsh seaside. And there we will be filming and telling a story and where we got what? I should cocoa. All sorts of things will be happening. A spot of lunch will be had at a local hostelry. And then in due course, I will come home. And then the real work will begin because this film's going to have a lot of overdubbing and over whatever the term is, and background stuff and stuff going in and stuff going out. But I'm really looking forward to doing it. If it comes out as hoped, then it should be really good. And it will carry on from episode 1, which of course was the episode when I went home. And it will be setting up episode 3, when I will be back with the lovely Sean down in proper Welsh Wales, South Wales, not Gogland. Great St. George's Day drive. Drive it day, says Bad Books. In sunny but chilly Norfolk today. Wacky races on the Norfolk roads. Top down, avoiding showers early on. That's a ticket. Oh, another member of the Top Down Club today. I really enjoy being in Winds with the Top Down. It really does transform the old driving experience, doesn't it? Excuse me. It's the inevitable wine burp. It can't be helped. It can't be prevented. Hey, chat, and hey, Boaty, says John Stoodley. Good luck with your trip tomorrow, mate. That's very kind. Thank you, John. Skick says Sean's memberships are $6.99 or £15 a month, and tremendous value. I'm sure they are too. A little bit more expensive than my channel memberships, but then his channel is better than mine, isn't it? So, yeah, reassuringly expensive, I suppose. Good evening, everyone, says Simone. The wonderful Simone. Did you take out a membership with Sean Skick? Oh, excuse me a moment. I need to blow my nose and I don't want to do it on camera. Ah, that's better. Now, where did I put those? I put them somewhere. I know I did. Where did I put them? Oh, here they are. Pardon me while I just do a bit of kitchen admin. That's lol, says the M11. That's musical nose blowing. Nothing, says Captain Mustard. Nothing beats an F with the top down. And to be honest, I would just agree with you today. I had a blast driving to work. Top down, sounds up. Oh, and I made a video of it as well for tomorrow's daily diary. And joy of joys. This was a great thing, right? Because the daily diaries now are for channel members only, and because channel member only videos are not monetized, so they don't have adverts, I didn't have to turn the stereo off. I didn't have to worry about copyright. It was very freeing and very nice. So yeah, I had a fantastic drive to work. It was an absolute joy. Oh, an absolute joy. And I would thoroughly recommend an MGF or an MGTF to anybody watching. It doesn't matter whether you're fans of the mark. They're the most amount of smiles to the mile that you can get. They're ridiculous value for money. There's nothing that even comes close at the price point. They're a little mid-engined rear-wheel drive rocket ship, and they're tremendous fun to drive. Nice and cheap to keep on the road. Tax isn't too bad. Insurance is nothing. You should all have one. Chilly with the roof down, says Bad Books. Heater on full and needed scarf and woolly hat, though. And Louis Primer, whoever that is. blasting on the old onboard gramophone. I wasn't chilly with the roof down. I kept the roof down actually until about 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Clock. Oh, I don't want to get in trouble with me clack. Because I had to go out and do some deliveries tonight. And I kept the roof down until about 9 o'clock when I did have the heater on. But driving to work, no need for the heater at all. It was just fabulous. I'm still taking a break from YouTube, says John Stoodley, i.e. uploading, as I need to get myself back to normal. Well, we all need a break every now and then. Mark Passad is with us. Evening all. God, they're late back again. Dirty stop-outs in their new BMW 4x4. Evening all and evening Boaty. Glad to hear that I'm not the only one who sounds like the QE2 docking at Southampton when I blow my nose. I would like an MGB, says Simone, hooked on classics. I'm a big fan of the MGB. Back in the day when I had the dealership, they were my bread and butter. I used to sell, on average, one a day, 30 a month. B Roadster, BGT, BV8, and I'm quite a big fan of them. And unusually, I'm a fan of them all the way through. I'm a fan of the very early ones with the crackled dashboard and the 3-bearing gearbox. I used to love the fact that I've got big hands, and on the earlier cars, the overdrive was a toggle switch on the dashboard. And because I've got really big hands, I could toggle it with my little finger. And I found that very pleasing. Obviously, on the later cars, overdrive, and it was overdrive on 3 and 4, so effectively giving you a 6-speed box, and it was an electric overdrive. On the later cars, the overdrive was on a switch on the gear lever, on top of the gear lever, which was fabulously convenient, but the wiring went through a rather tortuous route and would always fail at some point, leaving you with no overdrive. My favourite cars of all were the cars that had where the overdrive by default also worked on reverse, so that you had overdrive reverse. I always found that hilarious. But I was always incredibly comfortable in an MGB. There was so much room. The seats go back so far that it's one of the few cars that I can adopt my favourite driving position, or my favoured driving position. In an ideal world, I like to have the position of, it's the position of a Formula One driver these days, but it's the old Italian driving position. So I like to be almost lying down in the car. I like my legs to be out straight. I like my arms to be out straight. And that's a position that even a man of my height, 6'5", and yes, ladies, I'm all in proportion. Even a man of my height can get that position in an MGB. So yeah, big fan. And all the way through, I didn't mind the rubber bumpered ones too much. Obviously, they were very different. You know, you've got those big old rubber bumpers. You've got a higher ride height. The interiors were were kind of their time. If anybody's familiar with MGs of the period, then the interior, the seats appeared to be modelled on Blackpool deck chairs in terms of the colour scheme and the appearance. But I didn't mind them. And of course, I'm way out of touch now, so I don't know what they're doing price-wise. But they used to be the perfect entry-level classic. I mean, the great thing about the B, all the parts are available off the shelf at Tesco's. Excuse me. The downside, of course, used to be that if you put them in a garage in September, when you went to the garage in March of the following year, you would need a dustpan and brush to sweep your car into the bin because they did rot. But then, of course, they started releasing the heritage body shells and so on. So, I would like an MGB, Simone. Actually, I would like an MGB. The only thing I really didn't like about the later cars was that enormous, very plastic steering wheel. But of course, the steering wheel is very easily changed, isn't it? Yeah, nice car, the MGB. Although, if I had to pick a favourite MG, I think it would be the MGA. I was a big fan of the MGA. I don't know how to properly explain this, but it was the one car above all others that I found easiest to drive in the old school racing style. It was just so, they were so well set up. And of course, they weren't that quick, let's be honest. And they were just dead easy. And it was natural, even on public roads, to just drift them round corners. Um, they were, they were just fabulous. I loved the MGA. It would be my pick of any of the roadsters of that period. And so many other cars you never felt that at home with, or you never felt that at one with. And some of them were frankly just bloody hateful. Oh God, I'd love an MGA. I love the MGB V8, of course. Why wouldn't you? It's an MGB with that fantastic Buick V8 in it. And I didn't even mind the MGC, although it was a disaster of a car. The MGC, of course, they put that bloody Austin Westminster 3-litre lump into it. And it weighed about the same as the planet Pluto. And it gave the car a weight balance of, if memory serves, it was either 63 or 67% nose heavy. So, of course, the handling went just out of the window. The V8 was the engine that should always have gone in the MG B, and of course it did eventually. Now then, where did we get to? Oh, who's calling me at this hour in the middle of a live stream? Oh, it's a mystery caller. Well, this is exciting, isn't it? Hold on, let's put this on the old speaker. Good. Oh, they've buggered off. They've buggered off. Oh well, never mind. It was nice while it lasted. That was unexpected. We haven't had a caller for a while, have we? Now then, where did I get to? Oh yeah, that was it. Simone was fancying an MGB. Jimmy Quinn says, sorry, Paul, a 911 is a lot better than an F. Well, it depends on the 911, Jimmy. I've owned 911s, and I wouldn't say that every 911 was a better driving experience than an MGF. Now, I don't have experience of the most modern 911s, of course. I've got experience of old school 911s, which quite honestly used to try and kill you all the time, and an MGF doesn't do that so much. I don't know if any of you lot have driven an old school 911. I've driven literally hundreds of them, including some quite hot ones. We had Barry Sheen's 911 Martini Turbo, which had been converted into a track car. It won the last Super Prix ever held in Birmingham. Oh, undone my shirt by accident. That was a horrendous thing. But 911s generally, back in the day, you kind of had to know what you were doing with them, because they were lethal. I mean, the standard thing was, because they are different. I mean, they're different in so many ways. But the main difference is you've got the engine hanging behind the rear bloody axle, haven't you? So the normal thing was you'd barrel into a corner, realize that you'd gone in a bit hot, just back off the throttle a little bit, and you only had to back off the throttle a little bit. You'd swap ends, and you would be going backwards into a tree, absolutely a passenger. And that's the way that they used to be. And then that's before you factor in things like that. Oh, well, I've talked about this before. The pedals on 911s back in the day were horrendous. They were like a Volkswagen Beetle. Well, they were exactly like a Volkswagen Beetle. They were floor hinged. They were massively offset. So, I mean, the normal thing is seat here, pedals there. For some reason, Porsche decided, well, we'll have the seat here, but we'll put the pedals over there somewhere. So you have to drive all cockeyed like this. And then you've got the floor hinged pedals to try and deal with as well. And then you've got the fact that the car tries to kill you every time you go around a bloody corner. So I wouldn't say that was necessarily better than an MGF. An MGF is a happy little car that wants you to stay alive. There's a part of me, and I would never ever dare to say this, on a live stream or anything, but there's a part of me that thinks that early Porsches, or well, even not so early Porsches, were the last vestige, the last ditch of the German war effort. And they thought, right, okay, well, we lost the war, but if we sell them this car, we'll wipe a few out with that, won't we? I've never driven a 911, Jimmy, says Mustard. Yeah, well, they're an experience. 911 is a glorified VW Beetle, says Bad Books, with some truth. Top 3 favourite films, Mr. Boaty, please, says HW100. Okay, top 3 favourite films coming up. C'était un Rendezvous by Claude Lelouch. La Course en Tête, and I can't say this in the original language because it's not one of the languages I speak, but it translates to A Sunday in Hell. And those would be my absolute top 3 favourite films. John Stoodley says, I've been watching your live streams last few nights, Boaty mate. Not interacting, very entertaining. That's very kind of you. Today, says Bad Books, I saw a K-Reg MGBGT in mid green, very retro, cool color. K-Reg, that's K 78 or 71, 73, I think. 1973, I think, K-Reg. Jimmy Quinn says, Paul, but the Porsche Boxster 3.2 is a fantastic car to drive. Yeah, it's really not. It's really not. Take it from me, darlings. I had any number of Boxsters back in the day. Now, of course, the original Boxster was, the ultimate hairdresser's car, and it was underpowered. And that's all you remembered about it, was the fact that it was underpowered. And then they brought out the Boxster S to address the underpowering issue. And the Boxster S wasn't underpowered. But all that meant is that because you weren't focusing on the fact you didn't have any power, you realized everything else that was wrong with the car. And everything else that was wrong with the car was, well, firstly, the looks. You couldn't really tell which was the front and which was the back. And if you swapped them round, nobody would notice. And again, the seating position and the pedal position. They were excruciating cars to drive on a long journey because the seating and pedal position meant that it was a massive, massive effort to get your foot to stay on the accelerator. And if you want your car to keep going forwards, you kind of need your foot to be on the accelerator. And what you would find, and this is absolutely genuine, what you would find um, is that gradually, while you're driving, your foot would inexorably slip off the accelerator. It would begin to apply less pressure, and then it would slip. And unless you were really making a very, very conscious effort, then you would find that you would just, on a motorway, you would be going slower and slower and slower, almost imperceptibly, but it happened. And that's a very exhausting way to drive. I was never a fan of the Porsche Boxster. The only two Porsches that I really enjoyed owning were, I had a 931 Turbo. That was the first Porsche I ever owned. And I loved that because it was surprising. And I do like to be surprised by a car. It was a bit of a stealth car. It was totally unexpected in what it could do. Because everybody thought it was just a 924 or at best a 924S. And it wasn't. It was a 931, which was Porsche code for the 924 Turbo. That was a hot little car with a Getrag dogleg gearbox. I love a dogleg gearbox. All gearboxes on any performance car should be dog legs, as far as I'm concerned. And the other Porsche I owned, which I loved, was the 928. And that was just an utterly, utterly fantastic car. It looked futuristic and sublime. It was an ultimate grand tourer. I had the 928 at the same time that I had the Espada. And I just loved the 928. Most of the time that I owned it, I didn't actually drive it, oddly enough. Because shortly after I bought it, I met Lisa. And Lisa loved Milo. And she kind of nicked it for quite a long time. But the 928 was a fabulous car. That's a great car, Bad Book, says Mark Passad. Simone says, tomorrow I'm hoping to get some more welding done. Fingers crossed, good luck. I quite like the rubber bumper modelled MGB, says Simone. I don't mind them. There was a craze for converting rubber bumpers back to chrome. And I didn't mind the rubber bumpers. Obviously, for those who don't know, the rubber bumpered MGBs became rubber bumpered because they were trying to get into the American market. And at the time, the American market meant strangling your emissions and having higher crash standards, which led to all sorts of nonsenses, like the huge rubber bumpers on a BGT, take the Jensen Interceptor. Now, the Jensen Interceptor in Series 1 form used the beautiful Chrysler 6.3 V8. Then in Series 2 form, when it went into the US market, it was so detuned to meet the emissions, they had to bore it out to 7.2, and it was never quite the same. Oh, got to be me is here. Oh my God, I was almost going to miss you again. Oh no, but I have to change phones for charging. I will give you my real comment after I change phones. And remember, this is Sherry K, back to my real handle. I knew who you were, Sherry. I know you're got to be me. Look for an MGA online, Boaty. It's called the Sausage, says Simone. Oh, I will do. John says, my favourite MG is the MG ZT 260 V8. Oh, God. Okay, well, each to their own. I think they're a bag of shit, quite honestly. I think they were the ultimate white elephant. They don't really work on any level, do they? If you drove a really good 260 and a really good 190 back to back, and factored in the price differential and the reliability issues, you'd take a 190 every single time. But there we are, each to their own. Mustard says British cars offered something that really wasn't appreciated. Yeah, I guess so. Not always, though. Jimmy F500 says, if someone buys Windsor Davis, have you thought what would become your daily then? Well, my daily can't be Windsor Davis because it's not a very economical car. And it's too nice to use as a daily. So it was never going to be a daily anyway. I don't know what the daily is going to be, to be honest. I think there's not going to be a default daily for a while. I think there's going to have to be a change. Now, in all honesty, Andy Pandy, the 45 L Series diesel, that's going to need a clutch or part of a clutch. And I don't see Andy Pandy coming back. I think Andy Pandy will either be sold as spares or repair, or I will scrap him. So I think he's out of the window. Sheeson, a week tomorrow, then we will be Mustard and I do mean Mustard and I'm going to be getting my hands dirty. We're going to put discs and pads on Sheeson. So Sheeson will probably go back to daily duties for a period, but mixed in with some of the other cars. Sheeson will do weekends and I'll mix the other cars in during the week, so they're all getting their wheels turned over. And when they're in pole position there, it means I can get on top and valid them. They all need properly bringing back to really good sparkling spec after the winter layup. But in the medium term, I think my daily is going to be a modern. With the new job starting on the 1st of next month, if all goes according to plan, I'm going to need something diesely and roomy for airport runs. So I'm thinking about a Ford S-Max or whatever the C-Max is with the 7-seat option, something like that. But it's going to be something diesely and modern that I can just get in, drive without worrying about, shove a load of miles on and get reasonable economy from. I think that's going to be the way forward. Simone says, I sat in a D-Reg 911 Targa. Very nice, but very cramped. They weren't even very nice. I mean, they're I accept that the 911 is iconic, but it's also kind of iconically bad. And they were so behind. Porsche were always behind everybody and everything else. And I'll give you the ultimate example of that. Right. When the 911 Turbo came out in the, whenever it was, mid to late 80s, I suppose it would have been, every single car of the competition had a 5-speed gearbox and had a 5-speed gearbox for some time. The 911 Turbo was originally offered only with a 4-speed box for the simple reason they didn't develop a gearbox that was capable of taking the power of the turbo. Now that is just shit engineering. And that's what Porsche were like back in the day. All of their cars were retro, even when they were modern. They had this early design with the seating position and the pedal position and the dial layout and everything. And they just clung on to everything. They didn't change things for so long, just on the idea, I suppose, that people would sort of say, well, yeah, this is a 911. It's iconic. This is what it should be like. It should be cramped. It should be uncomfortable. It should try and kill me on a regular basis. And I always just thought they were a bit shit, really. I mean, and my experience of cars like that, it ends in the mid to late 1990s. That's when I kind of came out of the game pretty much. But bear in mind, I had a Ferrari F355. How can you compare any Porsche of the time to a Ferrari F355? You just can't. And if you want to go, I'll give you a really weird or unexpected parallel. Pick any Porsche from the mid to late 90s and put it up against, this will surprise you, a Toyota Supra twin turbo. I forget which mark it was, but the roundy one with that amazing airline dash that curved around you. That was just better than any Porsche in every imaginable way. Unless you were one of these nerdy types that obsessed over Porsche 911s because they were weird, because they were unpleasant, and because they tried to murder you. Never understood it. Got to be me, the lovely Sherry says. Still about to change phones. I want to say that the 911 is a terrible model number for a car because that is the emergency number in the United States, correct? Hence the SOBs down the World Trade Center on 9/11. Yeah, that didn't escape me. And obviously, yes, I did live in the States, and yeah, 911 is indeed it's the American equivalent of 999 here in the UK. My son, says Jimmy Quinn, has got a 2015 911 Turbo, and it's a brilliant car. It might well be, Jimmy, for all I know. Simone says K-Reg is 71. Oh, is it 71, 72? Oh, yeah, mustard says and 72. Oh, there you go. I was close. And Jimmy also says K-Reg August 71 to July 72. Boxsters were built in Finland, says Peter P. Hello, Boaty and everyone, says Andrew. Over Spotty Botty, Andrew Buttygig. Anybody else lost sound? Asked Sherry. A Ford Galaxy is a nice 7-seater Boaty, says John. It is, and I have owned one, John, very recently. And the film that I'm doing tomorrow, then I'm going to be the story that I'm going to be telling of my date on the at the North Welsh seaside. When I originally went on that date, I went in a Ford Galaxy, completely equipped with wine, picnic hamper, snacks, and of course, plenty of space for post-picnic pottering. I won't be recreating that in the video, don't worry. But that was a Mark II Ford Galaxy. The Ford Galaxy that came after, I wouldn't go for. It was just too ugly. I would take the S-Max over the Galaxy every time. Much better looking, much more dynamic to drive. You might wonder why the Galaxy and the S-Max were offered, given that they were effectively the same car with a slightly different body style. And the reason for that is that at the time, Ford were in bed with Volvo. So, for example, the Focus ST had the 5-cylinder Volvo engine and blah, blah, blah. And it was supposed to be a model share. The Galaxy was supposed to be the Ford car, and it was developed with Volvo. And the S-Max was supposed to be the Volvo version. But Volvo said, nah, we don't want it. And Ford said, well, fuck me, we've made them now. What are we going to do with them? So they marketed them as the S-Max, and they put a hot engine into it. It could come with the 2.5 litre. And I like the S-Max. And that's what I'm going to be looking to buy for the company as a company car. Very useful and versatile thing, and really good to drive. I do like the look of the MG X-Power SVR, says Jimmy Quinn. If memory is correct, says John, I think the first manufacturer to use a 5-speed gearbox was Fiat Stroke Lancia, quite possibly. Mark IV Supra, that is Boaty, says Frank G _05. I was a massive fan of the Mark. If it was a Mark IV, I had the one before. I had a few of the Mark IIIs. I think I had 3 or 4 of them, including a twin turbo Japanese import with a full digital Knight Rider dash and red leather interior. God, that was a stunning thing. I remember part exchanging a 2.8 injection Capri for that, and I felt like I'd won the lottery. God, that was an amazing car. But then the Mark IV was a revelation. Now, I had a Mark IV twin turbo, automatic, and at the same time that I owned that, I had a Ferrari Mondial. And I know what you're saying. Oh, Mondial isn't a Ferrari, but it was the Mondial Quattrovalvole. It was the QV. So it was the 3.2, and it was tuned. And what else did I have? Oh, I can't remember what else I had at the time, but I was playing with lots of things. And in real terms, on a normal A to B road with a normal driver, the Supra was just so much quicker than any of them because it was comfortable, it was compliant. You could send your mother down to the shops in it, but it was stupidly quick. I remember taking my Mark IV Supra on a date. Can't remember her name or anything. She was in Northampton. I do remember that. And I went down the M55, and I remember coming back in the middle of the night. It would have been like 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock, something like that. I used to do that. Instead of, if I went on a date, first or second date or whatever, most of the time I wouldn't stay the night because I've got to be at work. I've got to be there to open the showrooms in the morning. So, I'd end up buggering off at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And I remember coming down the M55 at whatever ridiculous hour it was in this Supra and thinking, right, let's see what it'll do. The M55, there were no horrendous curves and there were never any police. So it was always like an unofficial speed test route. And I planted the throttle and I thought, let's just see what the top end is. And I hit 155 and there was a bit of a thump. And I thought, fuck, I've broken it. And it genuinely took about, and I backed off. And it genuinely took about 10 minutes until thick old me realized that it's limited. It was limited to 155. And that's what happened. I hit the limiter. I thought I'd broken the car. Get me a Porsche 911, says Rebecca T. Thanks, Boaty. Post-picnic pottering has amused bad books. Yeah, well, that was the plan. That's why I took the Galaxy. I knew there was no way I was going to get it back to my place. So the only pottering possibility was going to be post-picnic and parked up somewhere secluded at a North Wales beach. And the Galaxy was very useful for that. My wife, says Jimmy Quinn, has got a C-Max 2-litre diesel auto, comfortable car. Yeah, they look it. I've had a C-Max. I had a C-Max at the same time I had the Galaxy. I was in my Ford period, but it was the one before the one that I'd get now. I was looking, says Frank G, at getting a Mark II Toyota MR2. Had one in at work and it was lovely. Unfortunately, it'll be a few years until I can get insured on that. Don't wish your life away, mate. Mr. Stephen Paddy from Port Sunlight in the Whittle, the Leisure Peninsula, says, how are you, Jason, old chap? I think an ideal daily modern would be a Kia Sedona Mark I diesel and would look the business. God. Oh. Frank says the 2JZ GTE engine in that Super is such a legendary engine. Mustard says, surely the NSX was even better. No, Mustard, because the NSX was a very flawed car. I mean, it was amazing in a lot of respects. I mean, the NSX was a beautifully engineered thing. It was a supercar that you could drive like a normal car, which is a wonderful thing. So in that sense, it was very similar indeed to the Supra, but it was unfortunately flawed, and that's why it didn't sell too well. And the way in which it was flawed was in the handling. And racing drivers who took the NSX on a bit of a jolly binned it. Really good racing drivers binned it. So what chance does a normal driver have? They had an inherent handling flaw. I don't know if it ever got sorted, but you know, again, yeah, a supercar that you could drive like a normal car, but when you try to drive it like a supercar, then again you would end up backwards going into a tree. I think the first public evidence of that, quite a load of NSXs had been binned privately. But the first public one, I think, was Tiffany Dell, was testing one for Top Gear. And he basically, they would understeer quite markedly. So what do you do? If you've got a car that's understeering, what do you do? Give it a bit of throttle, tighten the steering, flick the rear end out a bit, and go from under into over. Perfectly normal. And that's exactly what Tiff did. The problem with the NSX is that if you flicked from under into over, then it just did a Porsche 911 on you and just immediately and uncontrollably broke away, and you ended up falling off and into whatever was on the side of wherever you were driving. And after the TIFF thing came out, then it also came out that Derek Bell had binned one. I can't remember all of the others, but, you know, people who know very well how to drive a motor car, they all binned the NSX. I like a Nissan Skyline, says John. Very good looking car. Mark is giving us his 3 films: 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Matter of Life and Death, and Cinema Paradiso. And Skick says A Matter of Life and Death was a great film. Is anybody going to agree with me and my choices? Setting and Rendezvous, Claude Lelouch, La Course en Tête, and A Sunday in Hell. Has anybody even seen them? One of them was on my channel until it got taken down for copyright. My son had a Subaru Impreza WRX STI, a mad car. Yeah, definitely a mad car for, yeah, you know, they appeal to a certain type, do they not? Wouldn't be for me. Gosh, look at the time, darlings. It is time, all 35 of you, 35 at this time of night. It's time to say goodnight, darlings. I can't be too late tonight. I've genuinely got to get things prepared for tomorrow. I'm so looking forward to tomorrow. I hope it goes well. I'm sure it will. As I say, it's filming episode 2 of the Welsh thing, and it is going to be emotional because I've told you before the story that it's going to tell, and that's quite an emotional story. But there should be a lot of fun as well. I'm looking forward to spending the day in Windsor Davis, who is just looking utterly magnificent. And if anybody wants to buy him, then you can do so. You will not be disappointed. Can you give Sean my regards, says Skick? Absolutely, I can. Absolutely, I can. I imagine I'll be speaking to him tomorrow night, so I will definitely tell him you said hello. Good night, chat, and good night, Boaty, mate, says John. Have a safe trip. I've never heard of your film, Boaty, says Jimmy Quinn. What? None of them? None of the 3 of them? Oh, they're amazing. You should watch them. Oh, supper tonight. Oh, supper tonight. I haven't decided on supper tonight. Is it going to be staff curry or is it going to be Chinese chicken curry? Which shall I do? Oh, you know what? It might be Chinese. Have I got onion? Oh, I have. I might make some Chinese chicken curry tonight. I haven't had it for a while and I really miss it. It's one of my favorite things. Mustard says, I wasn't keen on the Supra when I had one. Maybe the Rover 25 is even better. Yeah, maybe. Night boat, says Simone. Good night, Simone, my lovely. I thought you were keeping the Rover, says Jimmy. So did I, Jimmy, to be honest, but keeping the 623 would depend on selling one of the fleet so that I could pay for the 623. And I thought I might have sold one of the fleet, but I haven't. And now I'm not even sure if I wanted to in the first place. So I would love to keep the 623, but it would have to be paid for. And that would mean flogging one of the fleet. And I'm not certain that I want to. So the 623, now I've seen what the 623 looks like, all cleaned up. It's got one little job that still needs doing, but thanks to Neil, I found where I can get the thing to do the one little job that still needs doing. Now I've seen what it looks like and what it drives like when it's all done and sorted. And now that I'm happy with the state of the car underneath, having been properly inspected and re-MOT'd after a rogue MOT tester basically went a bit mad on it. So now that I'm satisfied with what it's like underneath, and now that it's validated to within an inch of its life, and I know how good it is, it's going to go up for sale, but it's going to go up for sale at a price, and it's not going to be sold for pennies. So I will put it on eBay. I'll make a good video about it. I'll put it on eBay with a really good advert, and it's going to have a proper price, which is going to be, I think, and I still think this is cheap. It's a 623 GSI rare car, full service history from day one. All of the original paperwork, handbooks, everything, the handbook pack with the pen and everything, the original red master key, all of the original tools unused, still all there. It's probably going to go up for $24.95. And if it doesn't sell, what a shame. I'll just have to use it for a little while until it does sell. Good night, Boaty, and good night, chat, says Mark Sad. Really looking forward to your next collaboration with Sean. Have a good week, one and all. The next one with Sean, hopefully, funds permitting, will be 2 weeks, 2 weeks tomorrow, and it's going to be a cracker. I need to check out the weather. It could be happening in the MG, in Mingebag, in the MGTF. And Sean and I will be going to the seaside, but a very different seaside with a lot of very different memories. And it will be enormous fun. Night all, says Jimmy Quinn. Good night, says Peter P. Mustard says, have a nice trip tomorrow. I take it you don't mean Warrington, Cheshire, says Skip. I do mean Warrington, Cheshire. That is exactly where I'm going to meet up with my co-collaborator, who hopefully will have amazing legs, will be wearing a beautiful dress that shows off her best features. Is tomorrow the Wales trip, asks Ross, Dino Dad. And yes, it is. Yeah, Wales trip, road trip, Rover 623 GSI. It's going to be amazing. So excited. Good point, that says Gick. If those MOT testers see rust, they put corrosion, and it can really put people off. Yeah, on the original MOT, got an advisory on the subframe, and it shouldn't have had an advisory. So when it was re-MOT'd, it hasn't got one. I think that's too cheap, says Mr. Stephen Paddy. You need to put it up for 2,995. Okay, maybe I will. Actually, yeah, maybe I will. I mean, the last one that was an equivalent that I saw being offered for sale was up at, I think, 5,995. So, you know, anything that it's up for at, if the first figure is at 2, it's going to look bloody cheap, really. And it's a phenomenal car. Take it from me, it's a phenomenal car. It's not perfect, but a car starting with a figure 2 when it's rare and has a bit of age and a bit of prestige, you can't expect it to be perfect. So we will have to have a rip round Boaty for your Wales trip, says Jimmy Quinn. Oh God, well, that would be really kind. I'm okay for tomorrow. Tomorrow is all sorted. I've got fuel in the car to get me there. I've got a bit of cash in my wallet to get me the fuel to get me back. So tomorrow is cool. But tomorrow's not an expensive one. I'm not staying overnight. I'll be back here at a good time. Tomorrow will be Monday Night Live. Tomorrow will be a normal Monday Night Live. Bloody hell. Tomorrow will be a normal Monday Night Live from here at Windy Bum. But in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be trying to get back down to South Wales and Sean. And yeah, if any of you were willing to help with that a bit nearer the time, my God, it would be appreciated, because it is going to be it's going to be a struggle, but it is going to be worth it. We've got a great idea. Well, you know what the idea is. I don't know why I'm bloody pretending you don't know. I've told you. Episode 3 will be Sean and I going to Barry Island. So, I mean, it's Barry Island. How cool is that? And that means childhood memories for both him and me, because of course we both went there as kids. I've already started working on getting some old footage of the island back in the day, so that can go in there. There's the whole Gavin and Stacey thing, because everybody I've spoken to, I had a long chat with Nikki Nunu, my lovely neighbour, today. We haven't chatted like that for a while. And even she was besotted with Gavin and Stacey. So many people I know were so into Gavin and Stacey. And so we can kick right into that. I don't know if Sean ever watched it, but it was a massive thing for me. So yeah, that's going to be episode 3. I'm from Warrington, says Skick. Oh, well, you'll know the Aspley Road car park, possibly. I don't know why you two don't put for sale signs on the cars as you drive them around, says Ross. Probably a good idea. Have a nice trip, says Mr. Stephen Paddy. Don't get lost in the fields with the sheep tomorrow, only joking. Have a nice day. Right, okay, darlings, that's it. I'm going to say good night to you. I'm going to thank you so much for spending this element of your valuable time with me on a Sunday night when you might possibly have had better things to do. I'm going to go with the Chinese chicken curry. I really want that, and it'll be a good portent for tomorrow. Haven't had it for weeks. And the next time you see me will be, it was Jimmy, Gavin and Stacey. Oh, I was so, but that's all to come. That's all to come. That will be 2 weeks tomorrow if I can sort the funds. Tomorrow is going to be all about North Wales, a beach, and a beautiful woman. And the next time I see you, it will have all been filmed, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. And I will see you tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, double length, Monday Night Live. So don't miss that. I'll bring you up to speed with how the day went. Hopefully it all goes well. I've checked the weather. It's going to piss it down all day here tomorrow. But where we're going, the rain should be finishing at about 11 o'clock, and then it's going to be cloudy but dry, according to the forecast. So hopefully that will work out in terms of filming. And please, just keep your fingers crossed for me that, because you know me, I'm doing this on a wing and a prayer. I'm losing massive amounts of money on it. I mean, God knows how much a last word strip cost, and the video's made about £4. And this one will just be the same. But keep your fingers crossed that I can do it so at least it tells the story I want it to. And there we go. There we go. Good night, everybody, says M11. Have a nice day tomorrow. Safe trip. Thank you. And on that note, let's go. Let's bugger off. And hopefully I will see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock for 10 o'clock for Monday Night Live. In the meantime, hope you had a great weekend, by the way. Have a safe and peaceful night. Take really, really good care of yourselves. Thank you, Barry. And have the best day that you can tomorrow. I hope that Monday is kind to you, and I hope it's kind to me. Aspley, Skick. Oh, thank you, Jimmy. You're a legend. You're an absolute legend. So have the best day that you can tomorrow. Hope Monday's kind to you. Hope it's kind to me. Have a safe and peaceful night. And thank you so much, and so much love from me. Please, let's all get together tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Monday Night Live. I'll bring you all up to speed as to how the day went. There might be some sneak preview footage in the channel members' videos. And tomorrow night, I'm going to give away 5 channel memberships, so that 5 more of you can see the daily diary videos without having to fork out 99p. And on that note, good night, God bless, much love, achoo, and indeed, bosh.